If you can fit into that suit, Miranda Carmichael raised her champagne glass, the tip of her finger pointing straight at the Giorgio Armani suit displayed at the center of the ballroom. I'll marry you right here on the spot. Laughter exploded like a shock wave. Nearly 300 guests at the Carmichael Foundation Gala, held at the St. Regis, Atlanta, all turned at once to see who had become the target of such a cruel joke. Kevin Brennan, janitor of the Carmichael Center building, stood frozen at the corner of the ballroom. The cleaning cart was still in his hands. His gray uniform, 2 sizes too big, swallowed his body, hiding even the lines he had learned to be ashamed of after so many years. Miranda Carmichael, CEO of Carmichael Properties and Development, with a fortune of more than $2.8 billion, burst into loud laughter. It was the performative, overly confident kind of laughter of someone far too familiar with being the center of attention. Her golden waves of hair swayed lightly with each dramatic gesture. "I'm serious," she waved dismissively. "Does anyone have a pen and paper? Let's draft the prenup right now." The suit she referred to was the highlight of the exhibition. An exclusive Giorgio Armani design worth $125,000. Size 40R. A slender waist, perfectly structured shoulders. A masterpiece crafted for bodies, sculpted in luxury gyms, cared for by personal nutrition teams. Kevin felt a rush of heat crawl up his neck, flushing his entire face. His eyes stung, and he blinked quickly to hold back the tears. Not here. Not in front of hundreds of people. 6 years working at high-end events had taught him a bitter truth. Rich people are exceptionally good at turning humiliation into entertainment. "Come on, handsome," a woman in a shimmering gold dress called out flirtatiously. "Say yes. It's not every day you get a single billionaire offering herself." Laughter erupted again. Phone flashes flickered, capturing every moment for Instagram stories. Kevin lowered his head, his hands gripping the cart handle so tightly his knuckles turned white. He began to walk. Each step was a battle against the urge to run. Each laugh behind him felt like a blade twisting into his pride. "Hey, wait!" Miranda shouted after him, still full of mockery. "Don't run away! The offer stands. 30 days. If in 30 days you can fit into that suit, I'll keep my word." The crowd roared together, not as witnesses to a man's humiliation, but as spectators enjoying a spectacle. Kevin didn't look back. He pushed the cart through the service door, and the moment the door shut behind him, blocking out all the laughter, he leaned against the cold wall and let the last of the tears fall. But in that silent hallway, among stacks of clean towels and the smell of disinfectant, something shifted. Not a breaking, a transformation. The shame simmered, then boiled, and finally turned into something else. Anger, resolve, a vow. Those guests had no idea that Kevin Brennan was not just a nameless, invisible janitor in their eyes. 6 years ago, he had been a software engineer at a promising Atlanta startup, making a 6-figure salary with a bright future ahead. Until his wife, Hannah, died of stage 4 ovarian cancer at age 32. Kevin had to choose: career or family. Lucas and Chloe needed a present father, not one swallowed by 12-hour workdays. He gave up his programming career, took a janitorial job with flexible hours, and endured 6 years of disrespect like tonight, all to care for his kids and pay off the remaining medical debts. But tonight, everything changed. Kevin wiped his tears, inhaled deeply, and lifted his head. In silence, he made a promise. In 30 days, he would return. Not to marry her, not to seek anyone's approval, but to prove that no one had the right to define him by his appearance or his social rank. What Miranda Carmichael didn't realize was that her careless joke had just triggered a chain of events that would not only shatter her polished reputation, but expose the secrets she had long buried beneath wealth and influence, because Kevin would not return alone. And when he came back, it wouldn't just be his body that had transformed. If you want to know how an invisible janitor became the explosive force that tore apart the life of an arrogant billionaire, hit subscribe. Because what comes next will prove that underestimating someone who has nothing left to lose is the most expensive mistake you can make. Kevin couldn't sleep that night. And strangely, not because of the humiliation. Sitting in the small kitchen of his East Atlanta Village apartment at 2 a.m., he realized that very clearly. He opened his old laptop, the one ignored for 6 years, except for helping his kids with homework, and typed 3 words into the search bar: Miranda Carmichael scandal. A flood of results appeared: glossy articles about her real estate empire, photos of her on yachts, lavish charity galas. But beneath that polished surface, Kevin found something else. A small, obscure forum for former employees, quietly filed workplace complaints, rumors of confidential settlements. Interesting, he murmured, whispering as he systematically saved each link. But before digging deeper, Kevin had to face something harder than anything else: himself. He walked into the bathroom, turned on the light, and forced himself to look in the mirror. Really look. For the first time in years, the man staring back weighed 138 kilograms. A large belly stretched against an old t-shirt. A round face with a double chin. Tired eyes of someone who had given up on himself long ago. Kevin remembered the moment he stopped caring. 3 weeks after Hannah died, Lucas and Chloe crying all night. He tried to cook dinner and burned everything. He ended up ordering pizza. Then pizza became routine. Then fast food became a solution. Eating became a way to numb the pain. Hannah, he whispered to the reflection. Are you disappointed in me? He remembered his wife's radiant smile, the one she gave him 3 days before she passed away in the hospital. Kevin, promise me one thing. Don't let grief swallow you whole. The kids need a father who's strong, and you need to live. Really live, not just survive. He had broken that promise. There was a family photo in the bathroom, taken at Stone Mountain Park 5 years ago. Hannah was thin but smiling. Lucas and Chloe were bright and carefree. And Kevin, strong and full of life, before the pain consumed him. 30 days, he whispered to the photo. I'll become the man you wanted me to be. But there was one problem. Lucas and Chloe. Kevin stepped quietly into his kids' room. Lucas slept on the top bunk, Chloe on the bottom, clutching the teddy bear their mother had given her. Lucas still wore headphones, knocked out mid-playlist. Kevin sat between the 2 beds. He looked at his kids, and a wave of guilt slammed into him. For 6 years he had been there, but had he truly been present? He drove them to school, cooked dinner, poorly, helped with homework. But had he truly seen them? Lucas, now 16, had withdrawn, quiet, reserved, locking himself in his room for hours. Chloe, 13, tried to be the perfect daughter, always smiling, always saying, I'm fine, Dad, but her eyes never smiled. Kevin realized painfully that he hadn't just neglected himself. He had neglected them, too. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'll do better. I promise. The next morning, at 5 a.m., Kevin stood outside Iron South Fitness in Old Fourth Ward. Not a fancy gym, rusty weights, cracked mirrors, no air conditioning, but it cost only $25 a month. And the owner, Patricia Trish Donovan, a former boxing coach, had eyes that, didn't judge. "First time?" Trish asked, observing Kevin hesitating at the door. She was around 55, black, muscular, with short gray hair full of character. "I have 30 days to fit a size 40R suit." Trish raised an eyebrow. "And why do you want to do that?" "Because someone bet I couldn't." A slow smile spread across Trish's face. "Then we're going to make that jerk swallow his words. But you follow my program. No skipping. Every single day. Got it?" Kevin nodded. "And one more thing." Trish stepped closer, looking straight into his eyes. "Who are you doing this for? Don't tell me it's for the person who humiliated you." Kevin swallowed. "I have 2 kids. Then you're showing them this. Their father doesn't quit. That's the greatest gift you'll ever give them." What Kevin didn't tell Trish, not yet, was that he didn't just want to fit into the suit. He wanted to destroy the woman who turned him into a public joke. The following days, Kevin created a brutal schedule. 5 a.m., gym. 7 a.m., wake kids, make breakfast. 8:30 a.m., 4 p.m., work at Carmichael Center. 6:30 p.m., second gym session. 7 p.m., home, cook dinner, homework. 10 p.m., when the kids sleep, back to the laptop. And during those nights, Kevin began uncovering dangerous traces. First was Zachary Thompson. Zach Thompson, 29, was a former legal assistant at Carmichael Properties. 3 years ago, he sued the company for a toxic workplace and wrongful termination. The case ended with a settlement, confidential, with an unknown payout. But Zach had an anonymous blog where he told his story. No names, no companies. Kevin sent him a very carefully worded message. 2 hours later, the phone rang. "You're the guy in the video," Zach said immediately, no hesitation. "The humiliation scene at the gala. I saw it on Twitter. It's viral now." Kevin's stomach tightened. "Viral?" 3 million views, but most comments are on your side." Zach paused. "Why are you contacting me?" "Because I saw your lawsuit, and I don't think you're the only one." Silence. Then Zach said, "Meet me tomorrow. I need to see you in person before I tell you what I know." They met at a small cafe in Little 5 Points. Zach, 29, brown hair tied back, eyes that had cried themselves dry, now carried the coldness of someone who'd been crushed. "Miranda Carmichael is a monster," he stated plainly. "But an intelligent monster. She has files on everyone but herself. Employees, partners, even family. She uses them as insurance." "Where does she keep them?" "I don't know, but I know who will." Zach slid a piece of paper across the table. "Mitchell Graham, her CFO for 10 years, fired last month for breach of trust, but really because he saw something he wasn't supposed to." Kevin took the paper, and inside him rose something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. "Will he talk? If you really plan on taking down this monster?" Zach stared straight into Kevin's eyes. "He will help." Meanwhile, Miranda continued life as if nothing had happened, but her advisors began noticing something unusual. She checked social media constantly, searching for the humiliation video, reading comments. "This woman is disgraceful. How much money does she have to act like that? Does anyone know the janitor's name? I want to donate to him." For the first time in years, Miranda Carmichael felt something money couldn't buy: public shame. She immediately called her PR team. "Take that video off the internet." "Ma'am, we tried. But the more we remove it, the more people repost. There's now an online petition with over 75,000 signatures demanding you apologize." Miranda slammed her phone on the table. That insignificant man was ruining her image. Kevin understood that information, discoveries, plans, all of it was only the first step. If he wanted to stand before Miranda, reclaim respect, and protect the people she had destroyed, he needed more. He needed to become a man he himself could respect. And that journey began with the simplest, yet hardest thing: changing himself. From the next morning, Kevin began the 30 days he would later call the 30 most painful days, but also the 30 most important days of his life. In the first days, Kevin could barely stand up. His whole body ached, as if he'd been run over by a truck. Trish knocked on the locker room door. "Brennan! You dead in there?" "Almost." Kevin groaned. "Good. Pain means the body is changing. Get out here and do 100 burpees. I can't do one. Then half burpees, then quarter burpees. But the final number is still 100. It took 45 minutes. Kevin collapsed 3 times, but he finished. Lying flat on the floor, sweat pouring off him, body shaking, Kevin panted. Trish sat down beside him. "Want to know why I opened this gym?" she asked. Kevin nodded, too exhausted to speak. "My ex-husband beat me. 12 years. I was helpless, ashamed, weak. One day my 8-year-old daughter asked, 'Mom, why do you let Dad do that?' Trish paused, her eyes far away. That day, I turned to boxing. Not to hit back, but to find myself again. Every punch into the heavy bag was a piece of self-respect I took back. 6 months later, I was strong enough to leave. Not just in body, in spirit." She looked Kevin straight in the eyes. "This isn't about the suit, Kevin. It's about you taking your life back." Tears welled. Not from pain, but because someone finally understood. But the first week wasn't just physically hard. It was harder at home. Lucas caught Kevin shuffling up at 5 in the morning on his way to the bathroom. "Where are you going, Dad?" Kevin hesitated, then chose the truth. "I'm trying to change, son." "Why now?" "Because I realized I'd let myself go. And when I gave up on myself, I gave up on you too." The 16-year-old was quiet for a moment. "You didn't give up on us?" "Yes, I did. I was there, but I wasn't really present." "I'm sorry," Lucas looked down. "I gave up on some things too." "Like what?" "I quit the basketball team. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you already had too much to handle." Kevin's heart cracked. "Why did you quit?" "Because you never came to my games. I didn't want to make you come. You were always tired." Kevin hugged his son in the dark hallway, both of them crying. "I'll do better," he whispered. "I promise. If you want to go back to the team, I'll be at every game. Every single one." Chloe was a different story. The 13-year-old saw Kevin eating salad instead of pizza. "Are you sick, Dad?" Her eyes were wide, worried. "No, sweetheart. I'm just eating healthier, like Mom. Before Mom." Her voice caught. Kevin knelt down, taking her small hand. "Chloe, look at me. I'm not sick. I'm getting healthier. Big difference. Promise?" "I promise. And you know what? I'm doing this for you and Lucas too. You both need a dad who's strong, a dad who'll be here a long time." Chloe pressed her face into his chest, sobbing. "I don't want to lose you like we lost Mom." "You won't lose me. I'm here. And this time, I'll be here in a better way." On day 10, something important happened. Kevin had lost 6 kilograms. His clothes hugged him a little more. But more importantly, he felt different. Trish noticed at once. "You're walking differently. Head higher. I feel like I can breathe deeper." "Because you're carrying less weight. Not just body weight." The second week was also when the investigation entered a serious phase. Kevin met Mitchell Graham at a bar in Grant Park. The man was depleted, looking older than his 48 years. "My niece, Lauren." Mitchell took a sip of whiskey. "She used to shine. top student at Georgia Tech, MBA from Emory. A brilliant future. What happened? Miranda, he said quietly. She hired her as a financial analyst. It was fine at first. Then it started subtle comments about her looks, career discussion dinners, touches that shouldn't have happened. Mitchell gripped his glass. Lauren said no, very professionally. A week later, she was fired for poor performance. Miranda spread rumors, said she was unstable, untrustworthy. The whole industry shut its doors to her. How is she now? A cashier at Kroger, with an MBA. Every day I see a little of the light in her eyes go out. Anger boiled in Kevin. We're not going to let her do that to anyone else. How? You said she keeps files. We have to get them. Mitchell hesitated, then nodded. I know where the backup copies are. Her private attorney's office in Buckhead. I used to go there to sign confidentiality papers. I know the security system. Can we get in? Dangerous, but possible. If you're truly committed, Kevin looked him straight in the eyes. I'm committed. Not everything went smoothly. On day 12, Kevin almost quit. While mopping the floors at the Carmichael Center, he overheard two office workers whispering. See that video? The obese janitor. God, yes. Miranda was cruel, but look at him. That suit on him? Please, 30 days? Maybe 30 years. They burst out laughing and walked off. Kevin froze. The mop shook in his hands. Every doubting voice in his head came roaring back. They're right. I'm just fooling myself. I can't do this. He parked the cart, went into the restroom, locked a stall. Sitting on the toilet lid, he opened his phone and scrolled through photos. Hannah, Lucas, and Chloe. Then a selfie from that morning. The difference was there. Slimmer face, brighter eyes. He opened the humiliation video. It hurt, but he'd saved it. On the screen was himself. Head bowed, shoulders collapsed, hands trembling. A man who had accepted he didn't deserve respect. Never again, he whispered. I am not that man anymore. He washed his face and went back to work. But this time, with a different resolve. That night, he trained so hard Trish had to stop him. Kevin, enough. You'll get injured. I need to do more. No, you need to rest. The body gets stronger during recovery. He listened. Before leaving, he asked the thing that haunted him. Do you think I can do it? Really? Trish met his eyes. I think you already have. The suit is just a symbol. You're nothing like the man you were 12 days ago. That's the win. Day 18 was the worst. He stepped on the scale. The number didn't budge. 118 kilograms. Same as 3 days ago. Plateau, Trish explained. Your body's adjusting. It'll pass, but Kevin saw only the number, and the number said he'd failed. During his shift, he moved like a machine. Until he walked past a high-end tailor in the building. The mannequins wore a suit, very much like the Armani. Size 40R. Kevin stood staring for 10 minutes. A sales associate stepped out. Sorry, we're closing soon. Can I help you? I'm just looking. The person's eyes skimmed over Kevin. We do have larger sizes in the back, if you're interested. Polite tone, but it stung like salt on a wound. Kevin said nothing. He turned away, but his resolve doubled. That night, there was an important family talk. Lucas and Chloe were up unusually late. When Kevin got home, both sat at the kitchen table. We want to talk, Lucas said, serious. Kevin's stomach tightened. What is it? Chloe's voice shook. We don't want you to do this anymore. Do what? Lose weight. Train. I'm scared you'll get sick, like Mom. Kevin sat down. The fear in their eyes stabbed at his heart. Listen to me. I'm not getting sick. I'm getting healthier. But I understand your fear. Why do you have to change? Lucas asked. You're still you. Kevin was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. Do you remember how Mom used to say, live a life without regrets? After she died, I didn't live. I just existed. I turned down promotions, turned down going out, turned down joy. I was afraid that if I was happy, it meant betraying Mom. Tears streamed down both their faces. But I realized, not living is the betrayal. Betraying Mom, who wanted me happy. Betraying you, who need a father truly present. And betraying myself. Kevin took their hands. I'm doing this because I want to live long enough to see you graduate, get married, have kids. I want to run with you, not just sit and watch. I want to be the father you deserve. Chloe shot up and wrapped her arms around him. Lucas hesitated a beat, then hugged him too. If you're doing it, Chloe whispered, we want to do it with you. Do what? Eat healthier. Move more. Together. Like a family. Tears of pain and joy mingled. Okay, Kevin said. Like a family. The next day, a small miracle happened. His body broke the plateau. He dropped 3 kilograms in a single day. More importantly, when Kevin got to the gym, Lucas and Chloe were already there, in workout clothes. We want to train with you, Dad, Lucas said. Trish grinned. Welcome to Iron South Fitness, the Brennan Warriors. Their first family workout began. Sweat, laughter, even some stifled tears. But they did it together. When Lucas finished his first 10 push-ups, he looked up at his father, eyes blazing. See? I did it! I see. I'm so proud. For the first time in 6 years, Kevin felt it clearly. This was a whole family. On day 25, Kevin tried on a suit for the first time. Not the original Armani, he couldn't get that, but a size 40R from a thrift store. In the fitting room were Trish, Mitchell, Zach, and Lauren. Kevin slid into the trousers, hands trembling. They fit. Snug, but fit. The vest? He could button it, tight, but buttoned. The jacket? He slid his arms in. The shoulders were a bit tight, but it fit. He stepped out. Silence. Then Lauren clapped. Mitchell clapped. Zach clapped. The whole gym erupted. Trish hugged Kevin, the proud embrace of a coach. You did it, warrior. Kevin looked at himself in the mirror. He had lost 20 kilograms. Slimmer face, brighter eyes. Most important, he stood tall, shoulders open, gaze steady. He was no longer the man who had bowed his head to humiliation 25 days earlier. But now came the hard part. Now they needed proof. Mitchell spent 2 weeks planning the break-in at the attorney's office. They knew the lawyer would be out of town for the weekend. We have 2 hours, Mitchell explained to the team, Kevin, Zach, and Lauren. Cameras loop every 90 minutes. In, copy files, out. Leave no trace. This is illegal, Zach reminded them. Exactly. And what Miranda's done is illegal too. We're just leveling the playing field. Kevin hesitated. He wasn't the type to break the law. But then he thought of the victims. Thought of Lucas and Chloe needing to see justice win. Let's do it, he said. That night, the plan began. Mitchell used an old access card. A security oversight meant it still worked. They rode up to the 12th floor, Pemberton and Associates. Kevin's heart pounded. Every small sound made him flinch. Lauren, tech-hardened at Georgia Tech, handled the computers in a flash. I'm in. What they saw left the group stunned. Files on dozens of employees, personal information, finances, even medical data, and more. Emails bribing building inspectors, blatantly flirty messages to married employees, suspicious transfers, tax evasion evidence. God, Zach whispered, this is an entire operation. Copy everything, Mitchell ordered. They worked for 45 minutes, dumping massive data onto USB drives. As they were about to leave, Lauren spotted a file. Lauren Graham, Termination Dossier. She opened it. Inside was a bundle of lies, embezzlement, mental instability, inappropriate relationships with clients. She dismantled me systematically, Lauren's voice shook. Kevin placed a hand on her shoulder. Not anymore. Now we have the truth. They left without a trace. But Kevin understood. The real battle had only just begun. After the successful break-in, Kevin and the team returned and gathered in the small apartment in East Atlanta Village. Lucas and Chloe were fast asleep, completely unaware that a mini-revolution was being drafted right in their living room. Mitchell spread the USB drives out on the table like laying down a winning hand of cards. We have enough evidence to put her in prison for 20 years. But we can't just take it to the police, Zach said, voice calm but razor-edged. The way we obtained it may not be admissible. Lauren frowned. So what do we do? Kevin had thought about this for many nights. Not the police first. We go to the public. Everyone looked at him. The next Carmichael Foundation Gala is in 5 days, Kevin said. The charity auction. The suit will be displayed. Miranda will definitely be there. She loves a crowd. He looked at each face in the room. We're going there, and we'll expose her in front of 400 guests, the press, the cameras. Once the truth is brought to light, the police will be forced to investigate, no matter how we got the data. That's dangerous, Mitchell reminded him. Miranda has influence. She could sue us for defamation, invasion, anything. Only if we lie, Kevin replied. But this isn't a lie. We have the truth. Lauren leaned back in her chair, thinking, if we do this, our lives will change forever. She'll see us as enemies. Kevin smiled slightly, a smile with no fear left in it. My life changed the night she humiliated me. The difference is, this time, I choose how it changes. Silence stretched taut as a bowstring. Then Zach nodded. Lauren nodded. Mitchell nodded. All right, Mitchell said firmly, but we do it right. We need a good lawyer. We need a media strategy. And, he drew a deep breath, we need a lot more victims to come forward. I know who, Zach said immediately. Sarah Kim, labor attorney. She represented me. She hates Miranda with a kind of sacred fervor. Kevin nodded. Contact her. Sarah Kim, 45, Korean-American, black bob, horn-rimmed glasses, listened to the whole story in her small office in Decatur. When they finished, she folded her arms and looked at the group. Do you understand who you're asking me to go up against? Miranda Carmichael has the best legal team in the state. But she doesn't have this. Kevin slid the USB toward her. Sarah plugged it into her laptop. 30 minutes passed in the clicks of a mouse and increasingly heavy breathing. Her face shifted from indifferent, surprised, shocked, outraged. Good Lord, she whispered. I knew she was bad. But this is systemic. This is a weapon. She controls people through their vulnerabilities. Will you help? Lauren asked. Sarah looked up, eyes sharp as steel. Not just help. I'll represent you pro bono. I've waited 3 years for this exact moment. Over the next 3 days, Sarah built the legal strategy. Kevin returned to the crucial task, finding more victims. Zach and Lauren reached out to former employees through the forum. Some were afraid, some wouldn't speak, but some had been waiting for this day far too long. Marcus Williams, 34, former marketing director, pressured to leave his wife to be involved with her. He refused and was fired for restructuring. Jennifer Park, 29, architect, worked 80 hours a week with no overtime, then suffered a nervous breakdown leading to hospitalization, and was ultimately fired while in treatment. David Richardson, 52, structural engineer, pressured to sign off on false safety reports because a building failed to meet standards, left with a conscience that tormented him daily. By the evening of the 29th, they had 7 people ready to speak out. 7 stories, 7 wounds, 7 voices unwilling to stay silent. The night before the gala, Kevin sat in the living room, gazing at the family photo taken at Stone Mountain Park. Hannah smiled in the picture, the smile that hurt him, and also reminded him to live. "Do you think I'm doing the right thing?" he asked into the empty air. "Are you talking to Mom?" Lucas stood at the end of the hallway, hair tousled, eyes still sleepy. "Son, why are you up?" "I know tomorrow's important. I couldn't sleep." Kevin was taken aback. "You know?" "Dad, I'm 16. I see, I hear. I know you're not just going to the gym. You're getting ready to fight." Kevin looked at his son. Pride, ache, but no more hiding. "You're right. Tomorrow could change everything." "Is it dangerous, Dad?" "Not the violent kind, but it will get complicated." Lucas was silent for a moment. Then he smiled. "Mom would want you to do this." Kevin's throat tightened. "How do you know?" "Because she always said, 'Living bravely beats living safely.' I remember every word." Kevin's tears fell. He hugged his son. "I'm proud of you." "You're the best dad," Lucas said softly. "And tomorrow, you'll show us what it means to fight." The next morning, Kevin woke at 5. But today was different. Today he would face the world, and himself. He stood before the mirror. The man there wasn't the man from 30 days ago. Down 22 kilograms, sharper jawline, eyes with purpose, a presence with weight. He stood tall. He looked at himself, calm. He believed in the man he saw. That was the most important change. In the kitchen, a surprise awaited him. Lucas and Chloe had made breakfast, a plate of eggs and toast, still steaming. "Big day for you, Dad," Chloe said. Lucas handed him a small box, a navy tie with silver stripes, not expensive, but chosen with heart. "We used our savings," Chloe said. Kevin couldn't speak. He just pulled them both into his arms. "You two are the reason I can do this." 10 a.m., the whole team assembled at Sarah Kim's office, dressed sharp, ready to fight. Sarah laid out the plan with an unnervingly calm precision. Gala at 6. Auction at 8. That's when we strike. "Kevin, you'll enter with a ticket purchased under a shell company's name. Miranda won't clock you until it's too late." "What about us?" Zach asked. "You go in separately. When Kevin gives the signal, move in. I've invited 5 reporters. All it takes is 1 to live stream." "What if security drags us out?" Lauren worried. Sarah smiled, a cool, confident smile. "They won't be able to, because when Kevin starts speaking, I'll broadcast the video live across every social platform. Once it's up, no one can stop it." Mitchell nodded. "Smart. Once the story spreads, Miranda loses control." "Exactly," Sarah confirmed. "But consequences will follow. She'll threaten, sue, smear." Kevin looked at each person. "We're ready." Everyone nodded. Not a single one backed out. The entrance to the St. Regis Atlanta ballroom glittered with a red carpet and the flashes of photographers. Limousines arrived one after another, releasing guests dressed in extravagant attire. When Kevin stepped out of a simple Uber, he wore the black suit he'd bought. Not the Armani, but perfectly tailored to his new body. The tie Lucas and Chloe had given him completed the outfit. A photographer snapped him by accident, then paused, looking closer. "Hey, aren't you the guy from the video?" Kevin smiled but didn't answer and walked inside. Inside the ballroom, 400 high society Atlanta guests mingled with champagne and hushed words. Miranda Carmichael, in a blazing gold evening gown, was the center of attention as usual. Kevin stood at the edge of the room, observing. He could see Zach in the north corner, pretending to check his phone, Lauren at the bar, Mitchell near the exit. Sarah stood close to the podium with her phone camera ready. Kevin's heart pounded. Every nerve in his body screamed to turn around, to run, to hide. But he thought of Hannah, of Lucas and Chloe, of Trish and all the people who had believed in him. He thought of everyone Miranda had hurt, and would keep hurting if no one stopped her. Then he saw it. The Armani suit, displayed on a mannequin at the center of the room, just like 30 days earlier. But this time, it didn't represent humiliation. It represented the beginning of Miranda's end. At 8 p.m., the Master of Ceremonies took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our charity auction. The first item tonight is a very special piece, an exclusive Giorgio Armani suit, valued at $125,000. All proceeds go to the Carmichael Foundation. The spotlight hit the suit. The crowd applauded. We'll start the bidding at $50,000. Who will begin? A man in the back raised his paddle. 50,000. 60,000 from the lady to the right. 75,000. Kevin waited. His heart thudded like a drum. 85,000 from the gentleman in the back. 90,000. The MC scanned the room. Anyone else? 90,000 going once. Kevin raised his hand. I want to say something. The room fell silent. The MC faltered. I'm sorry, sir. This isn't the time for... My name is Kevin Brennan, Kevin said, louder and clearer than he'd ever imagined he could. 30 days ago, at this very event, I was publicly humiliated by Miranda Carmichael. A wave of whispers erupted. Phones rose to record. Miranda, standing near the podium, went pale. She challenged me to fit into that suit in 30 days. If I did, she said she'd marry me. The crowd laughed. The video spread. 3 million people watched me made a joke of. Kevin stepped toward the center of the room. Security moved in, but Sarah stepped forward to block them. I'm his attorney. He has the right to speak. I didn't come here for the suit, Kevin continued. I came for justice. In the last 30 days, I didn't just transform my body. I investigated Miranda Carmichael, and what I found is criminal. This is absurd, Miranda screamed, her voice shaking. Security! Get this man out! I have evidence, Kevin said, louder. Sarah handed him a tablet. Kevin held it up, and the large screen behind the podium suddenly lit. Emails appeared, text messages, bank transfers, all blown up big enough for the entire room to see. Miranda Carmichael has systematically harassed, manipulated, and destroyed dozens of employees. She keeps dossiers on them as blackmail insurance. She bribed building inspectors. She evaded taxes. And she silenced victims with non-disclosure agreements and threats. The crowd exploded. Reporters swarmed. Flashes fired like fireworks. He's lying, Miranda shrieked, but her voice sounded panicked, stripped of power. Kevin enlarged a voice memo. Miranda's voice filled the room. If she doesn't accept the deal, destroy her reputation. I don't care how. The entire ballroom seemed to stop breathing. Where did you get that? Miranda gasped. Kevin looked straight at her. You underestimated the janitor. You've always underestimated the people you think don't matter. He turned and gave the signal. Zach stepped forward. Lauren stepped forward. Mitchell stepped forward. Marcus, Jennifer, David. A line of people stood facing Miranda. These, Kevin said, are the people you destroyed. A reporter shouted, "What do you want to say?" Zach stepped up. "I'm Zachary Thompson. Miranda created a toxic environment and bought my silence with $200,000. Today, I'm breaking the agreement. Sue me if you want." Lauren stepped up. "I'm Lauren Fisher. I was harassed, fired, and my career was ruined. I have an MBA, and I'm working as a cashier. Because of her." A woman stepped out of the crowd. None of the group knew who she was. "I'm Amanda Foster," she said. "I was threatened with losing my child if I spoke up. I've been silent for 3 years. Not anymore." Others followed. Then more. Soon, 12 people stood in a row. Miranda looked around, collapsing by the second. People who'd stood beside her moments earlier now stepped away, afraid to even touch her. "You've been bought!" Miranda screamed. "This is all a conspiracy." Kevin shook his head, his voice so calm it chilled. "We weren't paid," Kevin said evenly. "We're just telling the truth. And here's the best part, Miranda. I did fit into the suit." He opened his jacket to reveal the t-shirt underneath. "Dignity doesn't depend on size. The size 40R suit, I fit into it, but I don't want to marry you. I want you held accountable." Applause broke out, scattered at first, then gathering, then roaring like a storm. Women stood first, then men. Then the entire hall rose. 2 security officers approached, but not toward Kevin. "Ms. Carmichael," one of them said, "Atlanta police would like to speak with you about bribery allegations based on these emails." Miranda's empire crumbled in front of everyone. Her attorney was arrested the same night for evidence tampering. 3 companies canceled contracts worth millions of dollars before midnight. The confrontation video reached 20 million views within 48 hours. As she was led away, Miranda turned to look at Kevin. Not with anger, not with hatred, but with belated recognition that she had destroyed herself the moment she decided he wasn't worthy of respect. 3 months later, Kevin's life had changed in ways he never imagined. The apartment in East Atlanta Village now had a new corner, a professional workspace with 2 monitors. Lucas had begun studying web design seriously and needed a real setup. Kevin was reviewing code on his laptop when Lucas burst into the living room. "Dad! They're talking about you on TV again!" Kevin smiled, eyes still on the screen. "Just ignore it, son." But Lucas turned up the volume. The anchor's voice was cheerful. "In the latest development of the Carmichael scandal, the businesswoman has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for bribery and obstruction of justice. Additionally, a $60 million fund has been established to compensate victims of harassment at her companies." Only then did Kevin look up. There was no triumph, just the calm closure of a chapter ending. Miranda Carmichael had lost everything. Her company was being sold off piece by piece to pay fines and lawsuits. Her family in the South publicly disowned her. Magazines followed every step she took leaving the courthouse, her suits growing cheaper by the week, stripped of the arrogance that once defined her every gesture. She became the one thing she feared most: irrelevant. But Kevin did not build his victory on her downfall. He built something of his own. The media attention brought opportunities. Georgia Tech offered him a full scholarship to complete the computer science degree he once abandoned. 3 tech companies approached him, inviting him to consult on ethical workplace culture. And the suit, that suit, was auctioned at a charity event, raising $1.5 million for an educational fund dedicated to low-income workers. Kevin didn't buy it back. He didn't need to. He had created 15 suits of his own, each one telling the story of someone he met during those 30 days of transformation. Zach opened a nonprofit providing legal support for workplace harassment victims. handling 200 cases in the first 3 months. Lauren returned to the tech industry, now at a company that valued her skills. She launched a podcast on survival and recovery, quickly climbing to the top 10 nationwide. Marcus, Jennifer, and David all found new jobs in environments that respected them, and more importantly, they reclaimed their own voices. Mitchell was hired by a rival real estate firm as Director of Ethics and Compliance. His first mission was to ensure no one would ever be treated the way Miranda once treated people. And Amanda Foster, the brave woman who stepped forward that gala night, became the face of the Speak Up Atlanta movement, encouraging survivors to break their silence. One rainy afternoon, Kevin received a letter. No return address, just a scrawled single word. Miranda. He hesitated. Part of him wanted to throw it away. Another part, the part that had learned to close circles, told him to open it. Mr. Brennan, I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But your courage has forced me to look into the mirror for the first time in decades. I saw a monster. I am paying the price. But the greatest punishment is knowing I caused pain that cannot be undone to people who did not deserve it. You did not destroy me. You exposed me. And that was kinder than anything I ever gave anyone. I hope one day I can become better. Not for you. For myself. MC. Kevin read it once, folded it carefully, and placed it in the drawer. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Power without humanity is just oppression dressed in expensive clothing. At Georgia Tech's graduation day, Kevin walked across the stage to thunderous applause. Lucas and Chloe sat in the front row. Between them sat his mother, crying with pride. Trish waved wildly. Sarah Chen smiled. Their entire little family was there, people forged together in fire and rebirth. Kevin was invited to speak. He approached the microphone in a black suit. Not that suit, but one he designed himself. Simple, honest, authentically him. A few months ago, someone said I'd never fit into a suit. What they didn't know was that for years I'd been trying to fit into spaces that weren't made for me. Jobs that made me smaller, expectations that broke me, grief that silenced me. He paused, looking down at the audience. The suit was never the issue. The issue was believing I needed to change myself to deserve respect. Applause erupted, but Kevin raised his hand for quiet. So I'm not here to tell a story of revenge. I'm here to tell a story of rebuilding. Because the best response to humiliation isn't destroying someone else. It's building something so real and so strong that their opinion becomes nothing but distant noise. After the ceremony, outside the hall, a 19-year-old girl approached shyly. "Excuse me, I watched your video when I was 17. My stepdad called me fat, said I'd never amount to anything, but seeing you changed me. Now I'm the first person in my family to go to college." Kevin hugged her. Warm tears soaked into his shoulder. In that moment, he understood completely. The real victory wasn't fitting into a suit or bringing down a millionaire, but becoming living proof that no one gets to define your worth unless you let them. A year after the fateful gala night, Kevin stood on the rooftop of his new office in Midtown Atlanta. Brennan Solutions, his consulting firm, had grown from just him to a team of 15. But this wasn't an ordinary tech company. Kevin built it with one purpose: to help businesses create healthy, ethical work environments. Everyone he hired had once suffered workplace injustice. Each carried a story. Lucas, now 17, was working as a web development intern. He designed the entire company website, a narrative told through technology, echoing the journey of rising above adversity. Chloe, 14, managed the company's Instagram. She shared real stories of workers, resilience, and courage. Some of her posts reached millions of views. Trish had opened 2 more gyms in Atlanta, each focused on recovery, not just of the body, but of the spirit. One of her most frequent clients? Miranda Carmichael. After leaving prison, Miranda began a long and difficult journey of redemption. She volunteered at Zach's nonprofit, sharing her story to warn victims about signs of abuse and how to escape them. It wasn't complete forgiveness. Some wounds never fully heal, but at least it was a beginning. Kevin met Miranda once, 6 months after the trial, at a neutral cafe. Miranda looked nothing like the arrogant woman from before. Older, softer, smaller. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said quietly, unable to meet his eyes. "Good," Kevin replied, "because I'm not ready. But I am ready to acknowledge that people can change if they truly want to do the work." "I'm trying," Miranda whispered. "One day at a time." "Then keep going. Not for me. For the people you'll meet next." One autumn evening, Kevin hosted a gathering at the office. An event for those who had walked the journey with him. The victims, the friends, the allies. More than 50 people showed up. Zach, Lauren, Mitchell, Marcus, Jennifer, David, Amanda, and dozens of others. Each had rebuilt their life in their own way from the ruins of the Carmichael Empire. Sarah Kim stepped forward, her voice strong yet warm. "A year ago, we were scattered individuals, each carrying a wound of our own. Today, we are a community, and we have proven that when those who are underestimated stand together, they cannot be stopped." Applause erupted. There were tears, but not tears of sadness, tears of closure and beginnings. Kevin stepped up next. "I want to thank all of you, not just for helping me expose Miranda, but for teaching me that true strength isn't measured by victory. It's measured by standing up and moving forward." He looked around at each face, now a small family. "We didn't begin this journey seeking fame. We did it because we were tired of being silenced. And in rising up, we found something far more valuable than recognition. We found our own voices." When the event ended and everyone left, Kevin stood alone on the rooftop, looking out at the Atlanta skyline glowing brighter as the city lights rose. A year ago, he had been a man sinking, overweight, exhausted, living inside a shell, just trying to survive. Now he was different. A business owner, a present father, a friend, a mentor, a small symbol for thousands who sent messages saying, "Your story changed me." But the greatest victory wasn't on a stage or in the headlines. It was 3 weeks earlier when Lucas told him, "Dad, I want to go running with you." And they did. Together. Side by side. It was Chloe no longer asking, "Dad, are you okay?" but saying, "Dad, you look happy." It was Kevin being able to look in the mirror each morning and recognize himself, a man he respected. On the drive home, he passed Iron South Fitness. Trish was closing up and waving through the glass. He honked back in greeting. He drove on, passing the St. Regis Hotel, the place where it all began. He looked at the building for a long moment, then smiled. Some places exist to teach you who you don't want to be. And once you learn that, you don't need to return. When he got home, Lucas and Chloe were still awake, even though it was late. "We have something for you," Lucas said, handing him a small, carefully wrapped box. Kevin opened it. Inside was a picture frame, a new family photo taken the week before. The 3 of them standing on the rooftop of Brennan Solutions, holding hands, smiling. Underneath was another photo, the old one from Stone Mountain Park, with Hannah. "We put Mom in," Chloe said softly, "because she's part of this journey. She's the one who started it all." Kevin pulled them both close, tears falling uncontrollably. "Your mom would be so proud," he whispered, "of you two, and of me." I finally kept my promise to her. When the kids were asleep, Kevin sat alone in the living room, the photo in his hands. He looked at Hannah's face for a long time. "I did it, my love," he whispered. "I didn't just survive. I lived. Truly lived. And I'm teaching the kids to do the same." He placed the photo on the shelf next to a certificate from the governor of Georgia, honoring him as Outstanding Entrepreneur in Ethical Business. But the certificate wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that he could look in the mirror every morning and love the man he saw. What mattered was that his children had a father who proved you can fall and still rise, stronger. What mattered was that thousands now knew your value is not defined by those who belittle you. If this story touched you, if you've ever been judged by your appearance, silenced by your position, or belittled by people who should have respected you, then subscribe to the channel. Because the greatest revolution isn't proving you can fit into someone else's mold. It's building a space where everyone fits, where dignity isn't something you beg for, but something you protect. Leave a like if you believe dignity isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you create for yourself. And remember, when someone tries to make you feel small, it says nothing about you, and everything about their insecurity. You don't need to fit their standard. You need to define your own. 30 days can change your body, but the decision to rise will change your entire life. And that life is worth fighting for.